Hi, welcome to my studio. So, I'm Mike Sass, and we're going to, in this video, do a couple demos for you. My background is as a gaming illustrator. So, I worked at BioWare for 12 years as the principal marketing artist. My job there was to do all the box art, magazine covers, web graphics, logos. I did a bunch of in-game art, animation. So, I have a long experience in the video game industry. But my passion all along was to do oil painting. So when I left BioWare in 2008, I started upon the path to be a freelance illustrator and transition from being a computer game digital illustrator to being an oil painter. I always had a lot of passion for doing oil paintings and took a lot of workshops and studied on my own. And since about 2011, I've been doing oil painting about 50% of my illustrations. As a professional, doing it 100% of the time is not too realistic with the volume of work and the sort of quality expectations. The reason why I like doing oil painting is you get that physical, tactile artifact, and you have the ability as a freelance illustrator to sort of expand each job into something larger than a resulting JPEG or digital file. So if I'm given an assignment by a client and I do a large painting, I then have that painting that I can sell. So I'm getting essentially 2 fees for each job. And the paintings can be much more valuable than the original commission fee. So doing traditional painting is allowing me more flexibility with how long I take on each thing, how many jobs I accept. But it also gives me the ability to have something to teach to people, to create videos like this. It allows me to branch off into different things like gallery shows, portrait painting, still life painting, fine art. Doing like actual tactile oil paintings is a nice break from the computer, and it's something, you know, as I get older and more advanced in my career, I'm going to want to do closer to full time. All right, so the main part of this demo video is going to be this large Lord of the Rings painting that I've prepared. It's of the Eowyn in the Nazgul scene from the end of The Lord of the Rings. So this painting's been sitting on my studio floor for 2 years. I prepared it a long time ago. It's just been too big to get to, but now is the perfect opportunity. I've got a couple weeks here that I can tackle this and get it done. There's at least 20 some odd figures in this painting. It took me a long time to draw it all, get all the reference, get all the costuming, put it all together into a cognizant scene. So I've already done a bunch of the prep work for this, as you can see. I've got the painting planned out, traced down onto the board, and this is sort of the first stage of the underpainting where I've gone over the lines. This has been a significant amount of work to get to this point, and we've already got it on the board. So in order to go back a couple steps, I'm going to do a small demo first to understand how we draw things out, how it gets to the board, and to bring us up to speed to this point. So the first part of the video, I just drew a funny little orc guy riding a boar. This is different than this in the sense that the large Lord of the Rings painting utilizes lots of photographic reference, lots of, you know, research for costuming and whatnot. Whereas this is something kind of fun and fast. I didn't use any reference. It's something I just drew from my head. So the finish of this is going to be more cartoony. The finish of this is going to be more realistic. And I hope you'll sort of understand that the process I use can be taken into the realms of fine art and what's called imaginative realism painting, or into gaming illustration, concept art, and things that are more commercial in nature. This one will do a color scheme that is a little more vibrant, a little more along the lines of the work I do for Blizzard. And this one will be more of a fine art fantasy painting. And the resulting sort of techniques I'll use, I'll go a little more commercial feeling in this and a little more fine art painting, slightly looser in my paint application for this. This will be a little different. I'll have to be very disciplined and more methodical in this painting. In order to make this look very realistic, I'm going to have you know, more grayer, greener flesh up here, the warmth underneath, as I've done in the wings, and really get into a lot of the detail so that we get the sense that there's sort of the texture that you'd expect from a large lizard in this creature. So I'll have to have a lot of color variety and a lot of rendering going on. It's also the largest object right in the middle of the picture. So whereas these things can be expressive and they're more moving, this really is one of the major elements. I can't over render it where it's by the girl taking away and competing with her detail. But I need to have all the sort of hints of the form turning into the logical colors that they would be in reality. So we'll get along with that right now. It's an overall blackish skin, so the core of it, you know, is showing its true color unlit by this light source or that light source. So it's getting the underlit warmth, it's getting the top green ambience. Here I'm starting to go a little grayer and yellower because this form is turning away from the viewer, so it's receiving, it's getting gray, because that's what happens to color when it turns to a more acute angle in space. As well, being a little dimmer and grayer here is going to pop that head forward for more saturated dark aspect of that head. So I'm establishing like these big colors before I get into the nuances